Trustee Subcommittee. I'm Richard Williams, Chair. I'm also Councillor for Stannington Ward. Today's meeting is open to the public. However, there are some documents which will not be available to the public and the press. For items 8 and 9, the appendices to the reports are not available to the public or press because they contain exempt information relating to the financial and business affairs. If members wish to discuss those particular bits of information, we will need to ask the members of the public and press to kindly leave for that part of the meeting, and we will pause the webcast. I'd also like to welcome members of the public who are either here in person or who are watching this on the webcast. We have received one set of questions from a member of the public today, which I'll invite them to come forward and ask in due course. Please can I request that mobile telephones and other such equipment are switched to silent mode so as not to disturb the conduct of the meeting. There is no fire test planned for today, and if there is an emergency evacuation, please take instructions from the Town Hall staff. The assembly point is Tudor Square. I'm now going to ask, for the benefit of the webcast, each member of the subcommittee to introduce themselves.
Fran Belbin, Councillor for Firth Park Ward and Deputy Chair of the committee.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Chaplin. I'm a councillor for Southey Ward.
And Douglas Johnson, councillor for City Ward.
And I was going to suggest that the officers introduce themselves when they first speak, if that's okay. Okay. Item 1 is apologies for absence. We have an apology from Councillor Crosthorne. That's the only one. We do not have a substitute for him today. That was a late one. Item 2, exclusion of press and public. As already advised, items 8 and 9 potentially have items which we need to exclude the public and press. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Do any members wish to declare an interest this afternoon? I'll take silence as a no. Item 4 is minutes of the previous meeting. What I'd like to do is go through them page by page, and if you wish to make a comment, please let me know. I'll just find them. Okay, so the first page of the minutes is actually page 11 on the agenda. Page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, and that's the minutes as a whole. Are we okay with those? Okay, one of the items covered in the minutes was actually the Norton Nursery, and I was just going to ask Ruth, the officer, Ruth Bell, if she's got a very brief update of where we are with things. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Ruth Bell, Head of Parks and Countryside. I do have a very brief update with progress that we, and by we I largely mean Catherine, sat next to me, is progress on working out what the reduction of the Norton Nursery site is going to look like, the work that's needed to make that happen. So by way of an update, we've spoken to a contractor to start looking at what the requirements for fencing and securing that new small section of nursery land would be. We continue to explore what the most suitable options might be for resiting the tractors plus their attachments and trailers across the city, and Catherine has identified a couple of new potential options there. We're also looking at that alongside continuing to work out whether resiting the tractors is the only options, whether there might be other options to move, for example, containers out and free up that equal amount of space to allow the safe manoeuvring of vehicles. We've requested some preliminary works to allow the skips to be relocated. That work should be happening fairly soon. And finally, we've begun to draft the consultation questions about what the use of that land will be going forward. That is likely to come back to committee.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 5 is public petitions, questions and statements. We do have one question from a member of the public, and could I invite Caroline to come forward and ask your questions, please? Can I suggest, good afternoon, Caroline, nice to see you again. You're from the Friends of Graves Park, just so everybody knows who you are. I'm sure they know who you are anyway. Can I suggest that you ask a question, then I'll give you the answer to that question, then you move on to the next one on this occasion. Is that okay for you?
Yes, that will be fine. My name is Caroline Dewar and I am Chair of Friends of Graves Park. Regarding the Norton Nursery site use and restoration, the Friends of Graves Park are concerned by the reply to our statement on the 8th of September 2025, which we received on the 5th of November 2025. Does the Charity Subcommittee now agree and accept that Graves Park was conveyed pursuant to the Open Spaces Act 1906 and that the information given by the legal advisors and council officers regarding this was incorrect?
Thank you. As I understand it, the land now forming Graves Park was not acquired pursuant to the Open Spaces Act of 1906. If this was the case, the land would be held under a statutory trust and not a charitable trust. Many of our charitable parks contain words in the conveyance deeds transferring the land to Sheffield City Council, such as public walks or pleasure grounds within the meaning of the Public Health Act, or as an open space within the meaning of the Open Spaces Act 1906. These deeds were handwritten, and this was a convenient way of making the drafting of the document more concise, as it avoided having to write out the definitions of words and phrases like open space by referring to the Act, which contains the definition. When a local authority disposes of any land which is classed as an open space, it must serve notice under Section 123 of the Local Government Act 1972, referred to as the Open Spaces Notice. This applies to charitable and non-charitable land, which could be potentially confusing, and it is hoped that this will provide further to clarify to the Friends of Graves Park on this question.
Second question. Does the Charity Subcommittee know that the section of land that the Friends of Graves Park wish to restore is virtually empty and has no vehicles or equipment stored there that need secure storage?
Thank you. I think this has been previously explained. The land is currently used to allow large vehicles to turn safely and manoeuvre within the site. This is a necessity for the safe operation of these vehicles and attachments, which the current configuration of Norton Nurseries. However, I believe that if the Friends of Graves Park think they have an option for the use of the land that both accommodates the operational needs of the larger vehicles and frees up more of the land, we would be more than happy to meet and discuss what plans you have for this. So could we arrange a meeting to...
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll get that in the diary and quite happy to have that done before Christmas, if that works for you.
Third question. Has the Charity Commission approved a 12-month temporary licence yet for the site to operate as a depot and dump? What communication has there been from the Charity Commission regarding this issue?
The Charity Commission contacted the Trustee on the 29th of September, confirming that they had approved the temporary use of Norton Nurseries as an operational base and providing a draft S105 order. To date, the final order has not been sent, but they have verbally confirmed that they approve it.
Can the Charity Subcommittee confirm whether or not planning permission is in place to run the site as a depot and dump and/or operational facility?
The Charity Subcommittee can confirm that the land in question has not in recent years been subject to a change of use planning application. The site remains part of the public park, and its use as an operational base supports the ongoing maintenance of the wider park. Item 6, members' questions. We haven't had any. So, thank you for that. So we'll move on to item 7, which is the work programme. Would you like to run through that?
Thank you, Chair. As you'll be able to see, I'll wait for people to leave. As you'll be able to see from the table on page 24, there's been a lot of additions to the work programme since the last meeting. I've handed round an updated copy of the appendix because I have got some more information about the items coming in January now. So there is more information on the items that we're due to have in January. I'm advised that the other items are not at the point yet where they can give us any further information. So I'll have to hand over to officers if there's any further questions on those items that are on page 24. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do any members have any questions? Yes, Fran.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to check, I know we discussed at the pre-meeting, I see Firth Park allotments are still on this list, and we did have a discussion about whether the Firth Park allotments are indeed charitable. Is there any further clarification on that, please?
We believe that they are. We're continuing to explore that, but we believe that they are within the red line boundary of the charitable sites.
Bearing that in mind and knowing that there's quite a lot happening on those allotments currently, does that have any implication then for the works that are taking place coming up by Yorkshire Water, and will that need to come to this committee? Because I'm very conscious that these things are happening now.
I don't believe so, because we have no choice, be it charitable or non-charitable, but to comply with the ask of Yorkshire Water. So there is no decision for the committee to take there. But I'll take further advice on that and check and come back to you if that's okay.
Thank you. Any other? Douglas.
Morning there. Interesting point about finding new charities or new charitable areas that we perhaps didn't know about before. And on that one, it perhaps sounds as though there is a decision of the committee. I was actually going to ask about all the others. There's quite a long list, Joanne, as you said, about new things going forward. I was just going to, are we absolutely sure that each of these, as a governance issue, needs to come forward to this committee for a specific decision at each stage? Because I'm always looking to see whether each of these decisions is, actually operative, needs a committee decision of any sort, and if so, whether it should be this committee. I just worry sometimes that we're just sort of feeding things through the committee for convenience rather than, in a proper governance sense. Well, might be one for you.
I'd probably refer that to Robert, but just to be clear, we're absolutely not feeding things through the committee for convenience. It's not a convenience. We do believe that these matters have to be decided by committee.
So,
Would you like to introduce yourself?
excuse me, sorry, Robert Parkin, Assistant Director Legal Services, Chair. So, unlike the policy committees, which make quite specific reservations, other decisions of which are delegated automatically to officers, the subject matter of this committee is quite comprehensively reserved. I know that there's work undertaken in other parts of the authority's apparatus, including Governance Committee, which may look at aspects of that. Officers have also considered and are likely to move forward on plans to bring more general approvals to this committee in relation to individual charities, so that actually they can get on and deliver within the ambit of what the trustee decides, a host of activities which are possibly laboriously brought forward to this committee. And I think that's certainly something that's been suggested for quite a while, and that's an important point to take forward. But we do screen items for where they need to go. Obviously, if errors are made, we listen and correct, and we'll make sure that we check everything fully. But I think it seems to me there's those two things, particularly the business plan approach, that might offer more convenience and efficiency going forward. Chair, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that then.
Okay. Yes, Fran.
It's just to note that several things on this list don't have decisions attached to them. They're just the names of buildings or places. So it'd just be helpful to be clear exactly what the decisions are around Firth Park Clock Tower, Firth Park allotments, Graves Park Land Train. You know, there's several others I think on there where it's just really not clear what decision there is to be taken.
That has been raised with officers and I will pass that on, that it's been mentioned. Thank you.
That's a good point, because, for example, if on section 4, the second item is Graves Park Pavilion licence to Muddy Buddies Nursery, which is what we will be doing today. So, yeah, rather than just the name of a building. Any other queries about the work programme? No, okay, that's duly noted. Item 8 is, in fact, the Graves Park Pavilion licence to Muddy Buddies Nursery and Forest School. Is this yourself, Ruth, or that's Catherine?
Lovely. Hi, I'm Catherine McDougall. I'm the Graves Park manager. So this decision, we are asking the charity subcommittee to consider granting a 12-month licence to the Muddy Buddy playgroup. They're a sort of stay and play nursery playgroup, to use the ground floor bottom foyer room, one room of a pavilion in Graves Park. So this will allow continued access for groups that already use it. So there's football clubs, there's like a little youth theatre group, the Norton History Club, and various other sort of ad hoc users. It's used for events sometimes, like cross country. So this won't exclude this, but this is just the use of one of those rooms for 5 days a week to have a stay and play nursery. The reason we're asking for a licence rather than just a day hire is so they can leave some of their equipment overnight and they're not lugging in play equipment every day to do that. So essentially there is, in terms of benefit to the charity, it will generate an income, and that income can be invested back in the charity. Anyone that has been to see Graves Park Pavilion will know it's not in the greatest of shape. It's a bit shabby. So, you know, income like this can be used to go straight back into the charity, which is helpful. We've asked for feedback from sort of local stakeholders within the park, you know, park run, other the Friends of groups, local councillors, and we've had no objections. People have been broadly supportive, and the only sort of actual response was the Friends of Woodseats Playground saying it sounded like a really good idea. So that's the proposal in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. But just to remind people before I take questions that there is an appendix attached to this item which is private. If you question you have relates to any element of that, then we will have to go into private session. That instead, I will take questions now if any of the members have them. Douglas.
Just got two small questions. You've just said that, first of all, the playgroup wants to use the sort of communal area there. Is that not going to conflict with other uses of people going in and out? I suppose just want that assurance, because I think on the drawing that's in the open part of the agenda, it sort of indicates it's, you know, in the doorway, in the porch of the place.
Yeah, so we've been speaking to them about that. Essentially, they'd maintain an access through, so even when they're using it, the users of the building do tend to be sort of weekend and evening, because as a more recreational, you know, your sports groups, your youth theatre groups in the evenings, and at weekends, so there isn't a huge amount of use in the day. The Norton History Group and some sort of a local, we call them the Graves Park Urban Volunteer Group, they're in on a weekday and they're more than happy to access through that route, and that's all been agreed with everyone already.
Great, thanks. Well, I guess they're in a position to know, as you are, so that's fine. And the other thing you said was that when you were saying that the councillors in the area were broadly supportive, you talked about some caveats. Were there any caveats from, you know, the council or anyone else? Any downsides? Because there's no downsides set out in the report.
I say broadly supportive in that they said, yeah, good, rather than, you know, expanding specifically on anything in particular. They say, yes, think it's good. Yeah. No further sort of, you know, they weren't wildly excited. They weren't against it at all in any way.
So you're trying to say no one really cares, but importantly, no one's got any objection. That's fine. Well, I don't have either.
I suspect the children who attend that nursery care very much. Any other questions from the members, queries? No? Okay, in that case, thank you very much for your report. The recommendations are that the charity subcommittee notes the contents of the report. 2, consider whether granting a 12-month licence for the Muddy Buddies playgroup to use part of the Graves Park Pavilion is in the best interest of Graves Park charity. And 3rd and finally, subject to being satisfied it is in the best interest of the Graves Park charity, approve the licence proposal based on the terms set out in closed Appendix 2. Are we agreed? Okay, that seems to have been agreed unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 9 is again in Graves Park. This refers to Graves Park Mobile Catering Preferred Bidders. Yourself again, Catherine?
It is, yes.
Thank you.
I think members of this committee will be familiar with this. We have been to you a few times with this one. So I think last time we came to you with something related to this, it was to ask to go out to tender. So essentially we have 2 mobile coffee carts operational in Graves Park, one in the animal farm and one at the Charles Ashmore side near the tennis courts. They have come to the end of their existing licences. We previously asked to go out to tender, to re-tender for new operators, and this report is bringing back the offers we've had and asking if you would be happy to grant those as per the closed appendix. So essentially, there's nothing that this committee hasn't really heard before. We're familiar with the 2 pitches. The offers have now been received, and without going into any confidential information in the open session, we're asking if you'd be happy to approve them.
Do we have any questions? No. Did we have any other bids apart from the 2 successful ones?
Just the ones that are in the closed appendix, yeah.
Okay, thank you. On that basis, sorry, yes.
Sorry, just before you make your decision, I just thought it was probably worth just highlighting what's in the report regarding how it contributes to the charity, just to allow you to make a decision on that basis. It does talk about having the mobile catering facilities having an overall positive impact in that it complements the wider recreational objects of the charity, and also that it does generate some income which obviously goes straight back into the charity. I just wanted to highlight that because point 2 I think again is consider whether it's in the best interest of the charity.
If I could ask, is there any risk of this having an impact on the revenue generation of Rose Garden Cafe?
No, these 2 pitches have been operating for over 4 years, both of them, and no one's noted any sort of downturn due to the others. They're all quite far away from each other, and people coming to separate areas of the park to do separate things, and maybe potentially have 3 coffees in a day, but that's for people day staying at the park.
Perhaps that could become an annual event, 3 coffees in the park. And you'd be able to run round then, wouldn't you? The 3 coffee challenge. Okay, thank you. And thank you again for your report. On the basis of no further questions, the recommendations are that the Charity Subcommittee notes the contents of the report. 2, consider whether granting of 2 licences for mobile catering operations at the Animal Farm and Charles Ashmore Road pitches is in the best interest of the Graves Park charity. And thirdly, subject to it being satisfied that it is in the best interest of the Graves Park charity, approve both the licences proposed. Is there agreement? Okay, thank you. That is unanimous again. Thank you very much. It's 27 minutes past 2, and that concludes our business this afternoon. For the record, our next meeting will be on Tuesday the 20th of January. As it's still November, I'm very reluctant to wish you all a very, very season, but I'm going to anyway, so I hope, if I don't, in this guise as charity, we will in fact see each other for a pre-meeting at some point. Thank you very much.